So, Phil, you ready for a big old battle later?
Oh, is that tonight?
Is that tonight? Says the guy who's in the bowl practicing as we speak. Just getting settled. Good timing. Normally we're 5 minutes away. Luke will be joining in 1 minute as well. While we're waiting for Luke and the others, do you want to give any updates that you have, Lala, or have you got stuff that you want to say until the end?
Sure, I can share my updates. It's all good. So, for those who missed out on last week's Beer Pong Championship, at least the first one to come around, Phil was the champion on everyone fair and square. That includes Gecko as well. But that being said, we will start kicking off a weekly beer pong hangout for those who, just want to socialize, hang out in the beer pong arcade. But at the same time, we're also working on something for everybody else to hop into the Slam VR and also to get the mobile users in as well. Because I do know a few of you would love to socialize in the vault, and we will be doing that next week. In terms of timing and dates, we will share that with everybody by this week. Again, any feedback that you guys have is always valuable to us, so feel free to fill up the canny or contact me. And if anybody has any issues, you know where to find us. And that's pretty much for this week. There will be a few Twitter Spaces next week that we will be announcing very, very shortly. But it's pretty much geared up for a lot of things happening next week. That's pretty much it for me. Yeah.
Thanks, Lala. Luke, Luke's here with me. Do you want to do a product update?
Sure. Hey everyone. We've been working on a build that adds AI to the districts, and as an extension to that, we're also working on incorporating that into the portal. The user portal, as we talked about, bringing that functionality in. That'll take to apartments down the track as well. So we're really laying the groundwork for that, so we can customize the districts directly. And as I said, as I said last week, the apartment stuff will roll up as well. So we'll be able to do a lot of that stuff remotely going forward, which will be really cool. We've spent a fair bit of time on the arcade, just improving that. There's some cool stuff happening in the arcade from a branding standpoint. So I'll talk about that next week when we've got a bit more information on it. But there's a lot happening in that space. And so the arcade you'll probably find is running a lot smoother now. We're really focused on that because we know that'll be something that people will be drawn to, and that will really set us up for doing tournaments and leaderboards. So we've talked about having that functionality in Slam and really pushing that. So we're going to fast track the arcade and make sure that we can really put on these competitions and make them a bit more, I suppose, baking some of that functionality in, so Lala's not standing there with a pen and paper like she is now. And we really want people to be able to run their own tournaments and see their own stats on leaderboards and things as well. So that's definitely a focus. And then we're really continuing that work on looking at the little crashes we have and the bugs and things, and ironing that out. And we're planning some big back end upgrades at the moment to allow us to expand and scale out those experiences. I'll update everyone more next week on the next steps around getting the apartments and the citizens into the vault, but we've been planning that today, getting that all ready to go. So work's about to start on adding that functionality and making sure that people can enter their own apartments and customize their own apartments, which hopefully will be a big draw card for people. There's a lot of NFT holders out there that haven't entered the vault yet or are not entering the vault on a regular basis. So we expect that will really be a driver for people to go and log in and get some traffic moving in there. I think that's it, unless Red Pill wants to add anything.
No, I think you covered it pretty well. Thanks, Luke.
Yeah, Phil, do you want to run through any updates that you might have before we tackle questions?
No, I think Luke covered everything that I'm working on as well.
Thank you, mate. I see here someone's posted, KC's posted the old Apple just signaled a mega metaverse altcoin rally. Yeah, I think there's a lot coming up in relation to what they will announce and what it means and all the rest of it. I think that there's obviously not many metaverses that are positioned in that same field as well. So, a good opportunity for us in the next couple of weeks, but we'll update you as we go. Are we going to get a beer pong highlights of matches? I guess that's a question for you, Lala. I'm not sure if any of it was recorded.
Yep, so we will definitely be doing snippets. The thing about having beer pong full games, there will be certain things that we need to censor out. I'll be very honest because everyone has fun and we tend to see a lot of stuff in there. But we are working on a way to make it as easy as possible for everyone to watch and view. And yeah, it will be shared. Just we're ironing out the kinks of what will be shared.
Thank you. Can we get special NFTs that allow us to distract opponents? XP, all you got to do is just tell them about the first 25 cogs. That'll put them off. Bringing this question up as well. Just a cue for the AMA. Obviously, there is an abundance of 2D images on OS, and Citizens OGs are no different. How does RFOX plan to market the 3D aspect of the value proposition when the time arises? And is there an option to pair existing 2D images with a 3D version on OpenSea, similar to the graphic change on the districts? Redpill, do you want to comment on that one?
Sorry, I'm just on my way. Give me a second.
Yeah, sure. But basically, while he's doing that, he'll add more context for sure. But basically, the files, so you'll have access to the files. But obviously, you're right. Once the 3D aspect of it comes to life, and you can actually, as Luke said, that was part of our planning session today to bring the citizens in and rigged and all the rest of it. So,
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep. Go Redpill if you're there.
So, I mean, what we will do obviously is that you will be able to access your files as a package through the portal. So if you own a Citizen, you can download it. We can definitely also look into having a 3D viewer as the NFT itself. So if you want to, for example, on OpenSea, see the 3D file, it wouldn't be too hard to render each of those models and upload them to IPFS so you can view them. So that's definitely possible. But yeah, I think mainly it will market itself by people just using it inside the vault, exploring the vault, having group pictures like with 20 citizens or at a party or something like that. I think that will look pretty awesome and we'll get some really good content out of that. But yeah, in general, those files will be available and it will be really obvious that those are actually 3D objects and not just 2D.
And I think we've had a lot of conversations. Some of you have been involved in those over the last week or two, where people have, once they have a look at the vault, and a lot of other projects have had a look for the first time, and the first question that they ask is, how do we get our NFTs turned into avatars and in the vault? So it's something that, a lot of projects promised that sort of stuff in the beginning, the 2D picture-based profile picture type of projects, and they've spent a long time working that out. But as we said a long time ago, it's one thing to work it out, how to turn it into metaverse-ready type of 3D characters, but then you've got to have somewhere to deploy it. People have to pick it up. You can't just go along to Ready Player Me and go, hey, can we put our NFTs in your thing, and then hopefully we find a partner that's not on Unreal, that's on, it's quite difficult for people to actually find a home for them once they actually get that done. So, there's a lot of new things there. A couple of other questions that we had from the week were in relation to districts. I think we tackled this one last week. the question we got asked was about when people can customize their districts in the same way they can their apartments.
Yeah, so that one is in the current build that we're testing now. We've initially implemented it the same way as we have with the apartments, where it's done inside the vault, so the same UI and everything as the apartments. But that's getting rolled up into the portal, so you'll be able to remotely change textures and things, much like you could before, but using AI engines. So that's the sort of the midterm goal, to have that piece in place. The thing with the districts is it's different to the apartments. You don't want you want to present your district in a certain way. You don't want people going in there and customizing that the same way as we are with the showcases of the apartments. So obviously that'll be controlled by the district owner, but it's very close, and you'll be able to play with it in this build once that gets released.
Thank you. The other one was Citizens. Yes, we've answered that one. So Citizens is getting closer and being worked on right now. So that's really exciting stuff for those to be able to come to life. The other one was apartments. That was also covered. Luke's talked about the fact that those two things were both in the focus script today for making it so that you can get access to your own apartments and customize those. Obviously, that brings a lot of the utility for the stuff that you have to the fore. How will other projects be able to get involved in the districts? Well, the first and foremost way would be C11DAO. They've got the perfect space and example of how multiple projects can come together. I think that question was from the context of how do projects that want to come in get in. So they ultimately would have to either represent or have a hangout in an apartment form, which is fine, or they can purchase a district and deploy in a district. Some people might want to rent rather than buy. I think that, our objective is to really get these tools in a format that are easy for people to access and use. As we've always said, what we don't want to do is spend all of our time down a rabbit hole hand-holding. It's got to be as automated as possible. And in the beginning, it's obviously going to be fairly simple, and then things get added to it as time goes on. But the one thing that we keep getting reminded of is we have a lot of stuff already. We still see what's left on the table to do with a big daunting list, and sort of think, there's a lot we need to do still. But ultimately, the progress that's being made is huge, and I think that we're very, very close now to being able to say, come in and build some great experiences and run amok. So can't wait for that. Lala, do you have questions from your side? Otherwise, I'm just going to go back to get a couple more that I've had come in.
I think on my side, there was a question last week in regards to having pets over here. I'm not sure that that's something we want to touch on.
Did you say pets in fear?
No, pets in the vault. There was somebody asking last week about that.
Luke just looked at me and said, Phil,
do you want to talk about that? You've got to think about open the vault.
Hey, is that something that's cool to discuss now?
I think the concept. We can talk about the concept of it.
Okay. So yeah, presently we are working, bringing companions in. Not sure what else to say about it. We are working on a set of pets. Can't say how that's going to be distributed just yet. But think Pete will have more news about that soon.
Was Phil cracking out for everybody, or was it just me?
I think he was cracking out. I'm getting one word at a time. I get what he's trying to say. It's kind of like one word at a time.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's probably good that my connection is bad.
Yeah, so we'll come back to that one.
It's happening.
RFOX sold COGS in 2021, 22, and 23. Shops and citizen sale in 22, with apartments and more citizens sold in 2023. My question is, how do supporters make ROI here if market volume is only null and RFOX doesn't market? Is NFT resale the only way? So obviously, with those things, they have to have a lot of those things require the vault and the platform to be able to be utilized. So as you can see, those things are very quickly coming together now. So it was a matter of, it's now a matter of being able to utilize those. And of course, if you've got a very saturated market of, and it was brought up before, of like 2D pictures or very static images or something that you think is cool but doesn't really have any utility, that obviously gives it, it's a very shallow range or area that you've got to market and promote. Whereas once these things come to life and you can actually use them, and you've got AI integration and lots of other stuff to come, then you've got something that's much more powerful. So ultimately, most projects started as a PFP and will remain a PFP forever. Whereas what you've got with something like the Vault is you've got an NFT that can be utilized. And let's just take the example of an avatar. It becomes something that you can drive, steer, operate, and use. And the NFT ends up becoming much more of a receipt of ownership and a way to verify that you own it, as opposed to it being the only thing that you have. I see these. I got asked about it during the week. Someone said SRC. I had to look into SRC because that's a new protocol. But SRC 20s, and I was saying, what do I think about the stamps? I actually only just spent 10 minutes looking into it. But the thing is that, you know, people replicate on any protocol, punks or what was the common picture profile type of project that worked in other formats. But again, these technologies are new. They haven't really been fleshed out properly yet. And ultimately, people just keep buying the same thing, hoping that they're new on somewhere else, and that will cause, that will be the catalyst for some sort of a pump. But ultimately, the utility has to come in. People have to be able to use what they've bought, and it has to be part of something bigger. It can't be just, hey, I've got a cool idea for a cute picture. You've got to be able to back that up. So long term, and we have this conversation all the time, because I know for you guys being supporters and followers and following the project as closely as you have over the course of the years, it's very easy to get frustrated with someone comes up with a meme picture and goes, there is no use for this, there is no utility for this, nothing, and it absolutely cranks, and you think, what the hell? But the thing is that a lot of those things, some of them do, some of them last, but most of those things disappear as fast as they come in. And what will happen in the long term is anyone that's building something that's going to get adopted or used is obviously going to be in a much better position. So it's just a matter of being patient. And the good part about where we are now is you can actually see, feel, touch, get in, experience what we're building. And that's a lot better than, 5 people with 5 pieces of paper or with a heap of words on there. You need to have some utility. How understanding are creators creating on the RFOX platforms, and are we waiting to deploy what they created? Do they come in and expect PS5 environments with PC gaming functionality, or do you set expectations with the provisos that Vault is continually improving? We probably get more. I'll let Red Pill and Luke answer. Phil talks to a lot of people as well, so anyone who wants to contribute. But my 2 cents worth is, we get more questions in relation to PS5 type of environments from more from the token holder community, saying, when will it be like XYZ that I also don't play? More from a token perspective, assuming that some sort of graphic level will cause it to move from a price perspective. Whereas people that are building continually, if people are building in VR or whatever, they're acutely aware of what limitations are, what the capacities are. The question that we get more from people that do know how to build is, how are you guys dealing with frames per second, like frame rates and stuff, and how are you going to go with extending those environments out? There are more questions that people that have had to battle through stuff understand and know. But from the other part of your question in relation to deploying and stuff like that, I think, again, creators that know how to create, that are looking to deploy what they already have in our environment, that's one group of people, and that's easy to deal with. People that are saying, I'm waiting on you to provide a complete end-to-end tool that requires me to just use my voice because I've got an idea but I don't know how to do any of it, are obviously going to have to be patient, because that doesn't exist anywhere. But will soon, I'm sure. Red Pill, Phil or Luke, do you want to add anything to that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one thing that we do is we are VR first. That's how we're building, and we're not building for PC VR specifically, but for VR that is portable, like Oculus Quest, right? And we're also multi-platform, so we're also on mobile devices, and that's where we kind of prioritize being available to all of those user segments. And if someone comes in and wants to build something, we can ask them, what do you prefer? Really small user segments, but extremely high graphics, or the whole market, like 80% of the market, but a bit lower graphics, because that's just the devices that currently support those graphics levels. And obviously, the answer is for most of them that they will choose a little bit lower graphics, but support on much more devices. And also the whole idea about Metaverse, I think, is to be connected and reachable between and across devices. And if you go to VRChat, for example, what you see is they have some PC VR experiences, and they're just limited to PC VR. So you have a really small user number there. And if you send a link of that to a friend and you want them to join, and they don't have PC VR connected, then they can't actually join into that experience. So there are a lot of kind of, issues that arise with that if you want to make a really consistent and persistent space. And yeah, that's why we also choose to align more with, the most popular platforms and the ones that have the most users.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate the point that Benny said, that creators really understand the limitations of the device. So there's never been a question of graphic quality for. I haven't spoken to someone who has complained about the graphic quality of the Vault.
No, for sure. And I think it's kind of almost the other way, where we probably, in some respects, we probably pushed it, the device to the limits. Like you can see in Q5, where there's a lot going on. That's really pushing the limits of the Quest 2. And I think it's more that creators might expect that they can come in and build things to the same quality, and it's a real balancing act for us to keep things at that quality but still keep the performance where it is. And if anything, we're sort of chasing performance now more than graphics, because we really are at that limit. So I think it's, as Phil said, I don't think anyone's ever come in and complained about the graphics, but at the same time, expecting to be able to come in and build at the exact same standard is going to be a challenge for a lot of creators unless they're quite experienced. So I think it's more likely that they're going to probably build at a slightly more simplistic level. Having said that, I think if you look at the arcade and Slam, which are both high quality environments for that device, they're both running a pretty high frame rates pretty smoothly. So it can be done. But I think the challenge at the moment, as we've said a few times, is we're still trying to build that SDK out, and there's still limitations. The stuff that we're building is not all available in the SDK yet. A lot of it's they can build the scenes, we can plug it in, and we've got the groundwork for that to happen there. But there's still a lot of work to do on game mechanics and being able to build out things like AI and those additional features. So we're working hard on that, but I think that's probably the main limitation at the moment. We need to get that done as soon as possible so people can build really rich experiences on top of the platform.
Thank you, guys. one way to bring some life into the vault is to populate it with AI-powered characters that role play, e.g. Grumpy Concierge for apartments, Chatty Gardeners, Aloof Guardians of the Light Technicians. Will they be in there anytime soon? What do you want to say about that, Luke?
We're talking it.
Yeah, we're talking about that. We know that that's something that has to happen, but we also understand that we're in a unique situation because we have metaverse ready avatars, plus we have a metaverse space, plus we have access to the AI tools. So I think, in all honesty, without sort of going too far down a rabbit hole, we also have areas that we can test a lot of new stuff. There's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement, and it's developing week by week on what's possible. I think the easiest way to answer your question is to say we don't see much value in having a pretty dumb type of NPC, your type of Grand Theft Auto type of, hey man, when it walks past, it has to be more sort of related to intuitive, more like auto AI agents that can. Because the one thing that we say is, with our focus being on VR, you might go into the vault and see me and say, you want to play a game? And I say, yeah, cool. And then I go, oh shit, my battery's going to go flat, or I've got to jump off now. It's 10 o'clock at night here. Whereas those types of AI powered agents that you're talking about, they're never going to get a flat battery. They're never going to have to go. They're never going to get sick of playing against you in a particular type of game or battle or challenge. So it's a matter of getting the balance right so that it's not a lame experience. Like some people have complained in other metaverses that they've had a really lame interaction with some sort of very stock standard NPC. So it's ended up being a long answer, but we are very much of the opinion that we have to make sure that whatever we provide is something a little bit envelope pushing as well. Can't just be a standard, bog standard, boring type of implementation. How important will BRC20 be to RFOX? We've got wind of it very early, and we're watching it develop. But BRC20, for those who don't know, is a protocol on Bitcoin that allows you to. We've already seen ordinals with NFTs, but BRC20 allows you to be able to produce tokens on the Bitcoin blockchain. What's happening now is exchanges are starting to list them. There's indexes being formed. There's a CoinGecko tracker for BRC20 tokens. They went in March from being an idea by a guy called Domo to having no market value to going over $1 billion market cap a week and a half ago. It's back down to half a billion now. That was probably fueled by the fact that people couldn't get their hands on it. It was hard to navigate. You needed a Taproot address and wallet, like a Unisat wallet. So it's really early stages, and it's exciting to see that another protocol sort of emerged. But ultimately, it's really, really early. We haven't seen a lot of utility for it yet. So I think that it's really early to tell. Maybe Red Pill wants to add some more, but what I would say is that we're just starting to see now a couple of you're seeing more tokens being minted out by one person now. And the reason that they're doing that is because we're starting to see right now, I think tomorrow is the launch of the first one, you're starting to see like launch pads. So tokens that are for sale that you have to hold to enter other. So it's the same thing as ERC all over again. But it'll be exciting to see where it heads. At the moment, it's really too early to tell. Red Pill?
Yeah, it's. I have the same thoughts. Mainly, it's really early. It's pretty exciting. The whole Taproot upgrade enabled those inscriptions, basically, those ordinals, so you can actually store NFTs or like data on the blockchain. That's why you saw those transaction fees going through the roof in the last couple of weeks. And so that aspect alone is already really interesting, because suddenly you can do a lot more things and leverage the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, in completely new ways. Like a lot of those kind of critique points that you maybe have on other blockchains on Bitcoin that could potentially solve that. And with BRC20s, I think it's, right now it's still kind of, not very useful yet. It's just, the transfer is pretty difficult, has higher transaction fees compared to other tokens. But the whole concept, I think, is pretty similar to how it was in early NFT time. Like in the beginning, you don't really expect that much functionality, and it's just a platform basically that will be built upon. And right now the logic is pretty basic. You can transfer, you can mint, you can deploy. But I think it will not take long until some developer comes over and creates some new functions and some new data models with those inscriptions and creates logic around it. So I think it's pretty great. The only issue right now, there's no decentralized way of trading them yet. So right now it's still centralized. So that's definitely one of the issues they need to solve.
We'll definitely keep a close eye on it, and we'll keep you guys updated as well. And I know someone's asking me about ORC as well, but the fact is that, look, BRC is the one with momentum. It's the one that people are building with. There's going to be ORC, SRC. There's going to be tons of different ones coming out, but it's an opportunistic time as well for grifters to try and get in and capitalize as much as they can from the movement. AI leprechauns running around the vault would be funny as. Yep. Bitcoin, any thoughts on the Ben token? I get asked so many times about the whole meme movement. The thing is that I was actually talking to King of Cogs today about an article written back in 2014, and nothing's really changed. What happens is you go through this, and in the form of tokens in this day and age, you go through the meme token, then the next phase is the influencer token, and then the last phase of this is the influencer meme. And I think that Ben's kind of like one of the first influencer memes, really, isn't it? I don't think the influencers know they're the memes yet, but we'll definitely go into that. I think someone launched an Il Capo token on BSC, if I'm not mistaken. I saw that launch, and in trending tokens. Look, the thing is, I don't want people to.
I think we lost you. Yeah, I think we lost you, Ben. Yeah, we still don't hear you.
He came in with a mute.
Hello.
You're back.
I'm back now.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, so I don't know what happened there. I wasn't mute. It was weird. What I was saying was, it's these tokens, pudgy penguins and stuff. People were saying, I read an article during the week saying that if people are strong at building a community, they can get tokens to pump much more so than if they could actually build something, right? So it's an interesting analogy, and there were some interesting articles written during the week. Alex is building on Twitter, wrote one in relation to this as well, and also mentioned pudgy penguins. But what they were basically saying is that if you're good at building a community, you don't actually need a product, and you don't have to build a product. Your community becomes the thing that binds that collection or brand, and that building something is not relevant or necessary in this market because of the immaturity of the market. Whereas people that actually have things of value are often seen as being less sexy, less funny, less appealing, especially for people that want to bring in instant crowds. So, so I think that a lot of these tokens will sort of disappear. If I had $1 for every time I saw a token go into the top 100 or whatever, then just disappear really quickly, I'd be a lot richer than I am. But ultimately, we have to just focus on building something of value. And the types of insane conversations that we have internally now with where we go from getting to this stage and how much work we've put in is exhausting. But obviously we have stuck to our narrative for a long time now. We've had a very clear idea of where we want to go, and that hasn't changed. And I think that now we just have to focus and not get distracted by those things. But the market's obviously not good in general. And every time you get a massive meme rally, it's generally either at the end or before a run. This one's kind of weird because it's in the middle of a long bear market. So it'll be interesting to see. But people keep saying, do you think this will be the catalyst for another bull run? I don't think that any of the outside factors point to there being a bull run at this particular point in time. And all bull runs generally are formed through some form of innovation or something new. And the other question that I got asked a couple of times during the week is BRC20 or those types of technologies something exciting enough or new enough to spark a bull run? As myself and Red Pill just said, it's too early. We just don't know yet. But I'm not seeing anything hugely innovative that would make people go against the market. I think something like Apple bringing out a mixed reality headset and bringing eyeballs onto metaverses and the possibilities has a much higher chance of sparking a run than something like a BRC20 token protocol. But that's just my ill-informed, uneducated opinion. Yeah, anything that you want to add on that one, Red Pill?
Yeah, just one interesting aspect of BRC is also that it's actually pretty good for miners and network security. Like you would think transaction fees make the network less usable, but actually what also means it's the revenues of those miners go through the roof. It was the first time, I think, Ben, you tweeted about it, that a Bitcoin block was actually less revenue for miners than the transaction fees. It's never happened before. So it's actually also good for us in a sense of that the blocks in the blockchain get full because that is a better security level. And it basically solidifies Bitcoin as well. So, I mean, depending how far those BRCs will go and what applications we'll see, that will have a direct impact on the Bitcoin utility and the potential, value of Bitcoin. So I think technically there is good foundation for this to be a catalyst, but it really depends what the applications are and if they're large and useful enough to do that. Yeah,
I think that's a good point you make. And I think that in addition to that point, what I would say is this is more likely to be a solidifying factor in adding petrol to the next run whenever that comes through, whatever reason. All of these little things just add up and become huge. And if you're not bullish on Bitcoin now and you're in this space and you're seeing what's happening and all of what's going on, then you probably need to what's the saying, Luke? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I think that's how the saying goes. I'd say so. But the catalysts for, because I keep getting asked about metaverses as well, saying no one's talking about metaverses as much, and there was people that had got off of the metaverse bandwagon and said, we're not focusing on it anymore, or we've dropped resources for it, or whatever. The thing is, if you have a read of what some of the people have said, they've actually turned around and said there's too much time, effort, energy, and expense and resource to build the infrastructure and the layers. It's almost as though people are waiting for other people to bring all of the tools and and to build all of the bridges so that they can come along and deploy quickly and easily. No one wants to do the hard work. So I think that that's the one thing that we can sort of give ourselves a small pat on the back for, is that we've got to this stage and this phase just through perseverance and will. But I think that all of these things like these mixed reality headsets and all the rest of it, it's definitely going in the direction we always thought it would. It's not changed. It's just the pace that will vary up and down and fluctuate. But I think once the next bull run comes around, if you think that metaverses will not be a theme or a huge level or area of concentration in the bull run, I think you're also sorely mistaken. I think it'll be massive. The whole World Wide Web is waiting on the RFOX tools. I think we talk about this a lot, and we argue healthily about this, but the tools that we've got will be used in combinations that we have not planned for or built for. The idea of having all your bases covered is to give people the connectivity and the ability to be able to combine them in any infinite number of ways. And people will have the time, energy, effort, and now to do that, but people will combine tools that we have. And we'll probably get the question of why didn't you guys do that? Our job, again, is not to build the entire thing. It's to build all the pieces and then let people come along and use their imaginations and do amazing stuff. How difficult do you think it will be for companies that have not gone down the VR path? Companies that have not gone down the VR path. Okay, so how difficult will it be for them to switch paths? Okay, so I'm assuming that means that if someone like a Sandbox or a Decentraland, I'll use just two well-known ones, wanted to flip the narrative to becoming a VR metaverse, Luke or Red Pill, do you want to weigh in on that one and give a more technical response to that? But from my ill-informed, uneducated knowledge, it's pretty much a start again, or a significant downtime and redevelopment. But Luke will answer.
Extremely and very costly, but I think a lot of the tech in Unity can carry over, but it's assets, like, making the assets compatible is obviously the biggest problem. And if you've spent a lot of time and effort on these 3D assets, like we have, going back and redoing a lot of that stuff would be, I wouldn't even like to think about it. But there's a lot of complexities in all of this stuff, and if you start at the simplest level and try and make it more complicated, that's obviously a much harder path than starting with the most complicated method and working backwards. So, yeah, I wouldn't like to have that task ahead of me, put it that way. I'm really glad that we started with VR first and worked backwards. It's a really easy thing to port VR to other platforms, but the other way around is extremely difficult.
Yeah. And if any one of you have asked those and you've got more context, please feel free to chip in. And the other part was, do you feel that targeting the VR market is too small a niche? And do you feel like you're not capitalizing on the wider market? Is it similar to a layer 1 or 2 chain? I think what you mean is, other layer 1s and layer 2 chains have to work very, very hard to get traffic, right? And they have to work very, very hard to compete against other people that are in a very saturated environment. But with the VR side of things and the metaverse, no, I don't think that we've focused on too small a niche, because that's where the traffic's heading, right? That's where it's going. And whether that be a mixed reality headset from Apple or some form of Android headset, making it lighter weight and cheaper and more accessible, there's no guarantee that people are going to go to a particular layer 1 or a particular layer 2, but it is, I think we are very strong in the opinion that the majority of the market for this type of thing will have some form of VR integration, and that's where it is headed. So, the saying is no one wants to be the first and no one wants to be the last. I think that with us, it was headlong, and we're very committed to that. We talk continually about, having to keep up multiple tracks for mobile and for VR, and that VR is where our chips lie and where we know things are going. We also understand that not as many users have access to VR yet, but the fact is that with what we've got and what we're building, we still haven't attracted a mainstream and a wide audience yet. So it doesn't matter whether it's on mobile or VR. The fact is that the experience is completely different, and you don't get the full experience if you are on are mobile, of course. So there's tons of mobile games, there's tons of mobile worlds out there, but there's a lot fewer VR-based metaverse and interactive spaces. So that is definitely I think we're very, very confident in that decision to go down the VR route. And then this one I promised to answer, I forgot to answer it last week, was what is our opinion and thoughts on looking into expired or abandoned or underperforming NFT assets that have still engaged wide communities and bringing them into the vault? Again, I might ask your help, Red Pill or Phil. You speak to a lot of people as well, but my 2 cents worth on that would be you've got to be careful. Again, with IP, you're pumping a lot of money into something that hasn't necessarily been successful, and you've got to ask why. I've got a friend who has developed a fund, and what they do is they buy NFT projects from people that have sort of made money in a bull run, don't want to like rug pull and run away, but don't have any idea what the hell they should be doing next. So they sell sometimes the treasury, whatever assets they have on hand, and the rights. And these people literally go around and pick up distressed NFTs projects. So as far as bringing them into the vault are concerned, again, something like the C11 DAO or a DAO like that sort of brings together groups of people with like minds is probably much better suited than we would be to it. The last part of the question was, and which one would you target? So I wouldn't really target any. We've had the opportunity to sort of get involved with some that have fallen by the wayside a little bit. Just my 2 cents worth, I think you'd be better off doing something like a dedicated meme world for all of the meme projects than you would be to sort of pick up some of these abandoned projects. There's a lot of research, digging and work you've got to do, and they're not hot for a reason, a lot of them. So yeah, anyone else want to give 2 cents on that? Either or anyone, Red Pill, Lala, Phil?
I mean, I think there could be an opportunity to convert dead projects into RFOX if we say, burn rugged projects for RFOX assets. There might be an opportunity there, but I don't think there would be any benefit in reviving a dead project.
We've talked about that before, and one of the projects that we were looking at doing something with was talking about using MintLab and saying, there's a lot of holders out there and they've been burned. The owners have run away. Could they potentially convert what they've got or use what they've got to claim? And I think we saw it with what was it, guys? It was Gods and Goblins or something. And they said, if you've got these junk NFTs that are not worth anything, you can trade them in for another NFT that's also not worth anything. But there's people that are trialing stuff at least to try and give a pulse or a lifeline to those. But yeah. I think everyone is pretty confident with where RFOX is at. So few questions tonight mean that we are happy. Well, we get a lot of people think about stuff and then write it down because they can't make it or whatever. I think, look, let's be honest, Artesh, I think a lot of people have the questions of how come we're seeing meme tokens and all these shit projects that don't have anything behind them pumping? Why don't projects with actual utility and teams working on them and people that actually care getting the same type of levels of recognition? And, we've got something now. I think Choyna, you might be the one responsible. Are you the one? You're the one responsible for the AaveGotchi intro, are you? Or you're the one you're seeding along with C11? But if you did, thank you, because I know that was mentioned. But we do get a lot of projects look at us and say, we've never heard of them, but what they've got is amazing. It's mind-blowing. It's great. It's awesome. So we've got to make sure that what we've got is stable. And let's be very honest, there's glitches still. There's too higher rates of crashes or bugs or whatever, and that's to be expected at this particular stage of the journey. And we're working very hard, and we have multiple teams working on making sure that it is stable, because we are about to press the button on advertising, and we can't fuck that up. Because if you get a ton of people come in and they go, this is shit, I can't use it or whatever, they're not going to come back. And what we want is people to have a smooth and seamless experience. And it doesn't matter if we don't build a huge amount of offerings more than we've currently got. As long as the tools are available, they're easy to access, and the world we have is stable and polished, that's all you need. Because the people will come in and build on that. They'll say, this is a solid build, it's smooth, it's great, it's dependable, and I can build a business on that. If they come in and say, this looks really cool, but I keep going into max headroom stage or whatever, they're going to say, I can't build a dependable business on that. I'll come back and circle back 6 months later. And we all know that people generally don't circle back. So we've got one chance. It's a very small audience of people that are interested in this particular niche and genre in this space. So we have to be certain that what we've got is stable and it works. You're mediating with Adelaide and a couple of the AaveGotchiDAO reps. Yeah, well, thank you very much. The words that they said were great and pertinent and very true as well. So we don't shy away from anything. We understand exactly where we sit. Sometimes, and you guys know this as a community, most people say, I never heard of them, but I looked at them a couple of years ago and it's shit because I don't have anything, or they're talking about doing something that I don't have it, and they don't realize we've got it now. We probably get more people on that side of the fence than we do that turn around and say, wow, this is brilliant, to a level that's above what we actually think is what you're currently getting. But, you know, those guys, they basically said never heard of them. And obviously they haven't been able to get the word out about what they've got, but what they've got is amazing. And I'm not sure if it was you, Adelaide, or someone gave them a connected through the mobile phone and streamed to Discord, and they said that they showed them the video playing on the computer and all the rest of it, and it was smooth and it didn't lag and it was really clean and all the rest of it. And that's what we need for everybody going in there, right? It doesn't matter if you're on a headset or a mobile, it has to be smooth almost always. You can't be in a situation where you're dealing with big brands and stuff where it's most of the time it works. It has to always work, with very, very rare exceptions. So we know that. That's what we're working on. And we're not sitting around saying, let's work on 54 new features that we can roll out and bring out because that'll impress everyone. We're not saying that. What we're saying is, let's finish what we've promised as far as citizens, apartments, all the rest of it. Get that stuff integrated, get that working, make sure it's stable, and get a dashboard out to people, a portal out to people that gives them the tools to be able to get in there and build themselves. So we're not trying to get ahead of ourselves. We understand exactly where we are, but we're making all of the right decisions as far as longer-term stability is concerned. Well, actually, why isn't RFOX getting the same kind of notoriety as these other shitcoins? RFOX, to be honest, it's not a matter of being too honest. It's a matter of I was speaking to Luke about this the other day. It's a really weird conundrum. If you market the shit out of something and you hype something up and you go, I'm going to build the world's best virtual playground, and and people go, holy shit, that sounds awesome. They will invest in that because they know that that sounds buzzy and appealing. When you actually bring out your first version of the playground, people will turn around and say, oh, right, yeah, I can actually see what that is, and it could be better. So that's not as sexy as the artificial promise of something that could be delivered that's 50 times better than you can imagine. So but the reason that we won't be getting the traction at this particular point in time is because we haven't heavily marketed it yet. So that's about to start happening, but ultimately, we have to again make sure that when people come in, that it's stable and that they want to build on it. And going back to that AaveGotchi comment, they turned around and said, we were looking at certain avenues and now we're looking at metaverses that would be good to deploy in 3 or 4. What we need to do is progress to a stage where they say, we have heard of RFOX, we saw their metaverse and it was mind-blowing, and we have to build in that metaverse. Not metaverses are actually cool. Maybe we should look at 3 or 4 of them. We want them to be saying that we're the only logical choice that can for a metaverse partner. Streaming on your phone in Discord VC at 3 a.m. Well done, mate. Apparently it was smooth and it worked very well. So there you go, virtual playground. Yeah, so that's a lot of information to get through. We've cleared a big backlog of questions as well. Anything else that we want to touch on before we break off? Because I've apparently got to get into the vault and what was that?
I think we should reschedule the match with Phil Friday. Because
Really?
because I don't see the usual VR guys in, then they wanted to see it. So I don't know. Phil, what is your thought? I think we should wait for like Full Talks and the others.
Sounds more like Phil's a sissy and he's not ready to ask.
Oh, he's here. Who is here out of the blue?
Saucy. Oh, it's a saucy.
Oh, okay.
I'm good whenever, but I tend to agree with Lala that it would be better if we had more participation, so we can get some decent.
All right.
By participation, you mean witnesses of the thrashing.
I think I'll have to allow that. If I push back because I'm a bit older, I'll end up coming across like a Mandelbaum. So I just also realised that when we make all these references like Mandelbaum and stuff, that we're probably everybody in Discord's going, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" Does anybody know what Mandelbaum is?
What's that?
It's a Seinfeld episode where a dude who's like 60 gets his father involved, who's like 80, and then his father's involved. I think he's about 100, and they're all calling Seinfeld a wussy and a sissy, and trying to get him to do weightlifting and all the rest of it. And they're all like very elderly men. If you are so inclined, I would thoroughly recommend, even if you're not a Seinfeld fan or you've never seen Seinfeld, Google the episode, watch it. It will make you laugh your ass off. Choyna, do you know it? Did you just find? There you go. Did you find that just now, based on just Googling it because I've said it, or do you know it? It's a fantastic episode. In fact, I think I might watch it right now that we've cancelled the. I'm going to watch it right now. That if that doesn't make you laugh, you got something seriously wrong with you. Lala, that's your homework. If you're going to postpone it, go and watch the Mandelbaum episode.
Yeah, I need to watch more stuff that Luke references, because sometimes it just passes.
Yeah, I think it definitely does show our age, but I think Seinfeld's still. Yeah, same here, Choyna. I actually watch it now. I say I get kind of sad and happy. I'm happy because it's such a great show, but I'm kind of sad because I think, oh my God, look how old it looks. And I remember watching that when I was growing up, and I think, shit. And all of those guys now, if you see them in their interviews and that, they're all very elderly now, and it's quite sad. Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for joining. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time as always, and for enduring this long bear market with us. We're always here. There you go. It's okay, Benny, not as old as me. And we will always be here. So look forward to seeing you in the vault, and Phil, you have 2 more days to practice so that the defeat is not quite as humiliating.
I will be.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. And Friday, it'll definitely happen. There'll be no saucies.
See you guys Friday. Bye, everyone. Have a great night.